My first big ski trip felt like a dream finally coming true. A small achievement from the list of wishes I had only imagined in my head. I set out with three of my closest friends, Angel, Amy, and Jessica, all of them already familiar with skiing and snowboarding. We took a long flight to Colorado, breaking through gray clouds, watching the sky change colors over time, and finally landed in Aspen, cold, covered in white snow. From the airport, a rental car carried us to Snowmass, a small town, quiet but alive, just a few miles from the famous Aspen Mountain ski resort. The Airbnb we rented felt made for winter holidays. 4 spacious bedrooms with thick blankets, a warm living room lit by a roaring stone fireplace, a wide wooden deck overlooking the Colorado mountains, and a steaming hot jacuzzi waiting outside. At sunset, the sky turned purple and orange, while city lights glittered in the distance like tiny jewels across the snowy valley. That first night, we didn't go straight to bed. With our excitement still burning, we decided to explore the local nightlife. A small bar in town became our stop. Country music mixed with the clinking of glasses filled the air. People laughed warmly, the smell of beer and wet wood surrounding the room. We chatted with friendly locals, laughed over little things, sipped warm drinks that spread comfort through our bodies. The night was full of laughter, music, and easy conversation. Our bodies were tired after the long trip, but our hearts were alive with unstoppable excitement. By the time we walked back to our Airbnb, the Colorado air was freezing, but the warmth of friendship made it almost unnoticeable. The next morning, that excitement turned into a mix of nerves and anticipation. We called an Uber to take us to the resort. There, we rented all the equipment, heavy boots that made my steps stiff, a snowboard that looked way too big for me, a helmet pressing on my head, and thick gloves that made every move clumsy. The slopes weren't too crowded, maybe because it was a weekday, but to me, the terrain looked terrifying. Snowy hills rising sharp and high, long lines of skiers gliding smoothly, reminding me I was just a beginner, lost among the experts. My only experience with snowboarding had been on a simple bunny hill. Even there, I fell over and over, never really managing to ride properly. Now, facing a long and steep blue trail, my body kept losing control. Each time I tried to glide, the board felt wild under my feet, throwing me down into piles of cold snow. The laughter of my friends, who tried to cheer me up, only stung. Even though I knew they meant no harm, my confidence crumbled. At one point, I just gave up, sitting at the edge of the trail, watching others glide with ease. Even little kids were smoother than me, racing down fearlessly, waving to their parents waiting below, while I, red-faced and sore, only felt left behind. That was when a stranger approached. Most of his face was hidden by a ski mask, but his eyes cut cold through the air. He looked just as awkward with the snowboard on his feet, moving slowly before stopping near me. "Are you okay?" he asked, short and direct. Something about it made me uncomfortable right away. On a busy slope filled with shouts and laughter, that private question felt wrong. I only nodded, pretending to adjust my boots. Then I stood and slid away again, more to avoid him than to practice. But the relief didn't last long. Minutes later, when I stopped again to catch my breath, he appeared once more. This time, he took off his snowboard and sat down in the snow, just a few meters away. His voice was lower now, almost intimate, despite the noise around us. He commented on my face, even though most of it was covered by my helmet and ski mask. The words made my skin crawl. Then, he asked something more personal. "Who are you here with?" I lied without thinking. I said I came with my boyfriend. A small lie, just for safety. But he chuckled softly, his voice low and pressing. "No, you came with your girlfriends?" he said, as if he already knew more about me than he should. My heart pounded hard. Every part of me rejected his presence. I glared at him coldly, then snapped back with a sharp reply. Without waiting for his reaction, I stood up and rode off again. Faster this time. Not because of skill, but because of fear. I lowered my head, forced myself to focus, and most importantly, never looked back. After a whole day battling fear on the snowy slopes, the lodge became a place where I could finally breathe, as if all the tension from the mountain could just melt away. I sat on a long wooden bench near the big window, watching people come and go, their faces red, noses raw from the cold, their breath turning into thin mist in the air. The lodge was alive. Laughter, boots stomping the floor, and the smell of hot chocolate mixed with coffee filling the room. Not long after, Amy appeared first, waving after answering my call. Relief spread across her face the moment she saw me. Then Angel and Jessica followed, their clothes soaked with clinging snow, cheeks glowing red, eyes sparkling with adrenaline. We reunited, laughing about all the falls on the slopes. Even though I couldn't really laugh, the thought of that stranger earlier still lingered at the edge of my mind. We returned the rented gear with frozen hands, then called an Uber back to the Airbnb. My body felt wrecked, shoulders and back aching from crashing into snow over and over. But beneath the exhaustion, my mind was still eager for the night ahead. When the car stopped in front of the house, the warm yellow glow from the windows welcomed us, like an embrace protecting us from everything outside. We took turns showering. The steam filling the bathroom was the perfect cure. After being beaten by snow all day, the scent of soap mixed with cold air slipping through the door crack. It felt amazing to wrap myself in fresh clothes. A loose shirt, warm pants, comfort sinking into every muscle. That night, we walked to the nearby village, down small streets lit by dim lamps, some still slippery with thin sheets of ice. We chose a small restaurant full of locals, simple wooden tables, walls decorated with photos of mountains and ski trails. The smell of grilled meat and hot soup made our stomachs growl. The food tasted better than usual, maybe because our bodies were starving. Steaming soup, fresh bread, and a glass of red wine. The perfect combination. After dinner, the night turned wilder. A local bar became our next stop. Loud music boomed from old speakers. People danced in clumsy steps. Glasses passed from hand to hand. I couldn't remember how many times we toasted, only that our laughter grew louder, blending with the music, as if we wanted to forget the pain in our bodies and just celebrate the night. By the time we stumbled back to the Airbnb, our heads heavy, cheeks flushed with alcohol, our steps no longer steady. On the back deck, the jacuzzi was waiting, steam rising thick, colliding with the mountain's freezing air. The four of us slipped in almost at once, our bodies wrapped instantly in warmth, a sharp contrast to the bite of Colorado's cold on our faces. It felt incredible, like sinking into a pool filled with pure relief after a day of punishment. Glasses still passed around, this time filled with lighter drinks, laughter still breaking between us, conversations flowing without direction, only fleeting happiness filling the air. The deck lights were dim, just enough to show our faces faintly. The dark mountains stretched in the distance, adding to the stillness, though I couldn't shake the strange feeling, that weight in my chest when looking out toward the forest below. But in that moment, it felt like the peak of our trip, as if nothing could disturb us, only warmth, laughter, and a night that seemed endless. But eventually, it had to end. Our tired bodies pulled us back to our rooms, one by one, disappearing behind closed wooden doors. 10. I, like always, stayed awake. Sleep never came easily for me. That night, alcohol only made my body heavy, without giving me any real drowsiness. I had already turned off the lights, but my phone became my escape. TikTok videos rolling endlessly, the blue glow from the screen reflecting on the walls. It gave the illusion the room wasn't completely dark. Seconds passed slowly. Minutes dragged, time itself refusing to move. Every now and then I heard my friends in the other rooms. A small cough, the rustle of a blanket. But soon, silence returned. The house fell quiet again. Only the soft hum of the heater fighting the cold outside. I didn't know then that my insomnia, something I always found annoying, would be the reason I heard something. That was never supposed to happen that night. That night felt far too silent, only the thin sound of wind slipping through the cracks of the old wooden windows. The heater hummed faintly in the corner, but it wasn't enough to chase away the chill creeping into my bones. I was still awake, my phone screen casting a bluish glow across my face, when suddenly there it was. Heavy footsteps from the living room. The creak of old, dry floorboards rang out sharply, like each step wanted to announce that someone was outside my door. I held my breath. The first thought was simple. Maybe one of my friends had gotten up. Maybe they were in the kitchen, grabbing water or a snack. But that explanation shattered when the doorknob to my room began to turn slowly, as if a hand was testing it from the outside. My heart pounded so loudly, it felt like it could be heard through the wood. There was no reason, none at all, for any of them to be at my door at this hour. Not like this, not so gently. My hand shot to my phone. I typed quickly into our group chat. who was just at my door. Seconds stretched into minutes. The screen stayed empty, no reply. The silence in my room grew heavier, mixed with the faint sound of footsteps shifting in the living room. I pressed my ear to the door, my body trembling as I listened to the sound of those steps wandering. Pacing, with what little courage I had left, I unlocked the door just enough to crack it open. The living room looked empty in the dim glow of the fading chandelier light. The wooden furniture reflected a soft shine, making the room appear calm. But that calm lasted only a few seconds. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him, a tall figure dressed in dark clothes. He moved slowly, almost without sound, going from one door to the next, trying each doorknob, one by one, with unsettling patience, like he knew we were all inside. My body froze. That wasn't one of us. That was a stranger standing in the middle of the house, like he was the real owner. I slammed the door shut and locked it again, holding my breath. My hands shook as I dialed emergency, whispering in panic to the 911 operator. My words broke apart. My voice cracked as I told them someone was inside the house. Before I could calm down, there it was. A soft knock on my door. A knock so polite, it sounded almost like a request to come in. Then the doorknob rattled again. This time harder, more forceful. My body froze in place. I covered my mouth with my hand to stop any sound. But then, boom, the door shook violently. Another hit, then another, louder each time. The pounding grew relentless, shaking the frame, as if he truly meant to break it down. I could feel the wood giving way. Tears streamed down my face, my breathing ragged. I couldn't take it anymore. With a broken, raspy scream, I shouted that I had already called the police. And suddenly, the pounding stopped. From the other side came a voice. Low, calm, but cold enough to freeze my blood. Okay, darling, he said softly, clearly. Then footsteps. Slow, heavy, drifting away across the wooden floor. Fading, until there was nothing. I stayed pressed against the door, phone still at my ear, listening to the operator tell me to remain inside until police arrived. Minutes crawled by. Finally, sirens wailed in the distance, piercing the silence of the night. Red and blue lights flickered through the curtains. The front door had been left unlocked, making it easy for police to enter. They swept the house with guns and flashlights, checking every corner, but he was gone. No sign of when or how he'd left. One by one, we stepped out of our rooms, pale-faced, eyes wide with fear. The police did their best to reassure us, giving strict instructions to lock every door and window tight. After they left, the house felt colder, quieter, like his presence still lingered in the air. The rest of that night, no one slept. We sat together in the living room, whispering, trying to reason through what had just happened. But one question wouldn't leave my mind. Could it be the same man from the mountain? The voice was the same. The way he spoke was the same. And the memory of his stare came flooding back, haunting me all over again. The days after that, the trip was ruined. We tried to continue, wandering around the small town, but the sense of safety was gone. After long negotiations, Airbnb agreed to refund part of the money. We spent the final night at a modest motel, far from that house. But even then, sleep was impossible. Every little sound felt like another threat. The next morning, we left heavy-hearted. Our bodies weren't tired from adventure, but from the unending tension. What was supposed to be a trip filled with laughter had become something darker. A grim reminder that safety can vanish in an instant. Even in the middle of what looks like a perfect vacation,